Good morning, February 3rd. What's the town order? Roll call, please. Thank you. Would you please stand for the pledge, please? Today's agenda, we'll have Dr. Rendell run through all of our presentations.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. So we have two presentations that I'm going to share with the board today. The first is going to be on our graduation rates. We'll take a deep dive into the data to see how we progressed over the last several years. Then we're going to have a presentation on the proposed instructional calendar for 26-27, and then we have a short list of policy revisions to consider with the board. But the first presentation is going to be on our graduation rates, and I'm going to ask Lena Weibelt to come up. She's one of our directors in the school leadership department. She actually oversaw the graduation rate process, the tracking of data, and making sure schools were doing everything they can to make sure kids graduate. And she deserves a lot of the credit for the numbers that she is going to share. As I've said before, this is a K-12 measure of our success as a district, but the high schools have to do their part and make sure we get the kids across the finish line. And Lena has been instrumental in making sure they do their part. And we have really good news to share, so I'm going to take some time to go through a PowerPoint and really dive a lot deeper into the data rather than just celebrate the fact that we have a 93% graduation rate as a district. But some of our schools have done some big work, and we want to make sure they get recognized. So Lena, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you. Good morning. I am really excited to be here to review our 2024-2025 graduation rate with a 5-year analysis of our progress. So as Dr. Rendell just said, graduation rate is part of our BPS strategic plan. And while I will be speaking today to the great work that our high schools have done, graduation is truly a full K-12 initiative. Without the hard work that's being done in the elementary schools and middle schools to prepare our students for high school, we would not have the success that we will be seeing today. As part of our strategic plan, our key performance indicator is to achieve a 95% graduation rate for all subgroups with a metric of deploying a district-wide cohort tracking system at 100% for BPS high schools. I'm very proud to say that we have fully deployed our metric. So we have a tracking system that is updated and monitored monthly.
Yay.
So we are very excited about that. For the 2024-2025 school year, Brevard Public Schools' official graduation rate is 92.7, which the state will round up to 93%. So we're super excited about that. This is the highest graduation rate that in BPS's history that we could go back and find. It is the highest graduation rate that we have had in BPS history. So we're super excited about that.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. Can you say that again?
One more time. This is the highest graduation rate in BPS history.
Yes.
We have been able to accomplish this success by implementing systems at all of our schools with emphasis on awareness of how the state calculates graduation rate. Under Mr. Raymer's leadership, we were able to make this a monthly topic of discussion during our leadership team meeting directors time to drive home the importance of having systems in place at every school that would outlast personnel changes and that everyone involved with anything to do related to graduation rate would know how important their role is in the success that we're having. So that has been what our emphasis is. So our systems are working, so that we can say. There were 6 of our 17 high schools that increased more than 5% from the 2023-2024 school year to the 2024-2025 school year. I know you can read this slide, but I'm hoping that you will indulge me because I think the accomplishments of these schools is exciting enough to read out loud. So you'll see, we'll start from the bottom, that Palm Bay High School for 23-24 had an 84.7 grad rate, and they moved up to 90%, which was a 5.3% increase. Astronaut High School started at an 89.4% and went to a 95.5, which was a 6.1% increase. O'Galley High School, 83.7 to a 90.6%, which was 6.9% increase. Cocoa High School went from 71.7% to an 80.3% in 24-25, which was an 8.6% increase. Bayside High School went from 80.4% to a 90.5%, which was a 10.1% increase. And BVS Brevard Virtual School went from 87.8 to 100% in 24-25, which was a 12.2% increase. So those are some really exciting numbers that I felt really needed to be shouted out. And again, our systems are working. 15 of our 17 high schools either increased or maintained their graduation rates, with Edgewood and West Shore maintaining 100% consistently throughout the years. We have 10 schools with a graduation rate of over 95%. And those are Astronaut, BVS, Cocoa Beach, Edgewood, Mel High, Merritt Island, Satellite, Space Coast, Viera, and West Shore.
So before we leave the slide, I want to note that all but one of our high schools has above 90%. 90% or higher, all but one of our high schools.
Yeah.
So we are moving,
That's great.
getting closer to our goal.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is a view of our graduation progress over the last 5 years. I want to make a point to talk about the school year 2021, which was the school year we did not officially get a school grade from due to COVID. During that year, the state offered COVID waivers for testing for schools, so that data is labeled with an asterisk. So really, as we're looking at our increases, we want to focus on 21-22 to 24-25.
So
So
just to clarify, I'm going to interrupt
Go ahead.
Lena.
Yes,
I already-
please.
I already told her I'm going to do this numerous times.
Yeah.
So for the people watching in the audience that may not understand all of that, in 2021, that first data point on the left of the slide, that was one of the last years we were still coming out of the pandemic, so to speak, and the state waived the testing requirements for any seniors that year. So in other words, if a senior hadn't passed Algebra 1's EOC or hadn't passed the 10th grade reading test, they waived that graduation requirement. So in a sense, that should have been
A really high.
the highest graduation rate ever for us. And as we go through these slides, we're going to go school by school, and you can see that when you go through them, in 2021, some of our schools did have a really high graduation rate. Some of our schools didn't, even with the waiver. And so obviously what we've done, what we've put in place since then has paid big dividends. So if you want to compare apples to apples, it's the 21-22, you know, the second data point to the far right. Like those are 4-year cohort graduation rate comparisons, no waivers or anything like that. So that's the progress that I'm going to really kind of highlight in that time period. So for example, on this slide, as a district, from 21-22 to 24-25, we had a 5% increase as a district. So that's some pretty good stuff. So as we go through school by school, and we're going to look at some subgroups in a minute, you know, that 2021 is has an asterisk for a reason. That was even with waivers, you know, so, sorry, Lena.
No, that's okay, now, please. So shortly after Mr. Raymer got to the district and became our chief of schools is really when we started to have this conversation. So to piggyback on what Dr. Rendell was saying, that's really when we started having this conversation about how are we tracking and how are we monitoring our graduation rate. And that was when we really started looking at our systems. Do our schools have systems in place? What are those systems, and can they stand the test of time when we have turnover in our schools? And does everyone who touches the grad rate understand the importance of it? And so that's a big part of the systems that we run through monthly at our leadership team meeting. So this is another slide that I'm very excited about, and I do believe Dr. Rendell will probably even have more to say about this one. But this is our subgroup graduation rate over 5 years. As you can see, we have steadily increased over the last several years. This is part of our strategic plan. We do still have some work to do, but our strategic plan does say that our performance indicator is to get to 95% in all subgroups. And you can see in our multiracial for 24-25, we were at 92.4 already there. But beginning in our 21-22 school year, you can see that in pretty much almost every area, we have steadily increased in our subgroup. So that's just another part of our systems that our schools are monitoring.
So this is one of my favorite slides, so Lena knew I was going to jump in on this one. Again, if you're looking at the colored bars, the bar on the left of each group is the blue bar for 2021, so that's the asterisk, so that's with waivers. So then the yellowish bar is, the second bar is really the first, for 21-22, the first apples to apples comparison to 24-25. So if you look for economically disadvantaged, that first subgroup, over the last 4 years, we've made a 9% increase, almost a 10% increase for that group. If you look at the Black African American subgroup, 7% increase from 21-22 to 24-25. If you look at multiracial, a 7% increase from 85 to 92. Students with disabilities, a 10% increase from 21-22 to 24-25. And then the one that I think is really encouraging is the last subgroup, English language learners. You can see if you go from 21-22, it was 65%. And for 24-25, up to 82.7, almost 83%. Now, you also look at the blue bar in that group. When we had the waivers for the state testing, this group that's the highest they had ever achieved. So it shows that that's the barrier for them, is the state testing. It's not the graduation number of credits, it's not the GPA, it's probably the 10th grade English language arts assessment, even more so than Algebra 1. But a 17% increase from 21-22 to 24-25. Really great work by the teachers at the high schools and the teachers throughout the system. Really great work by the principals and the guidance counselors, college and career specialists, everybody who's had a hand in it. So, the subgroup data is very encouraging. I don't know if you caught, though, that Ms. Weibel mentioned in the strategic plan, our ambitious goal is for all subgroups to be at 95% in 5 years. So we're moving in the right direction, but that's a pretty ambitious goal. So we'll see if we can get there.
Yes. So I'd like to now take you on a visual journey, a 5-year journey of our grad rate for each of our individual high schools and their progress along the way. So as Dr. Rendell and I have been talking about that 2021 with the asterisk, and then beyond that, you can see the increases over the last several years in our school's grad rate. So this is Astronaut High School. Even in 2021, with the waivers, they were at 86.5, and for 24-25, they were at 95.5, which would really round up to a 96. I always like to say that. So you can see the work that that school has been doing. Bayside High School, little bit ups and downs there, but they increased, as I had said before, over 10 percentage points from 2023-2024. Brevard Virtual School ended up at 100% this past school year. Cocoa High School. So you could really see the work that Coco's doing. In 21-22, they were at a 66.8, which was borderline for the state to kind of come in and talk to us about that. And you can see the steady increase that they made, but then that really big jump from 23 to 24, from 71 71.7 to an 80.3 in 24-25. So you could really see the work that they're doing. They also have a very high ELL population there, so they're definitely working with those subgroups to increase their graduation
That's a
rate.
13% increase from 2021, 2022.
Yeah.
So 13% in 4 years, but the big jump was last year, almost 10%.
Yeah. Cocoa Beach, again, you can see where their data has gone. O'Galley High School took a little bit of a dip, but has come back up. Edgewood, it's our consistency of our 100%. We want to make sure that we're recognizing those guys as well. Heritage High School, you can certainly see that trajectory from 21, 22 to that 24% that they just received. Melbourne High School, here again, all in the right direction. And again, very proud to say, as Dr. Rendell had pointed out before, that many of these schools, even with the waivers, the testing waivers in 2021, their grad rates are still higher now without any of those waivers, right? With just the work and the systems that they've been putting in place are higher. Palm Bay High School, this is another one, 21, 22. They were at 76.5, and they got a 90% graduation rate in 24, 25.
Did you skip Merritt Island?
She went very fast.
Oh, sorry. You want me to go back to Merritt Island?
I want to give them their due.
Okay. Yeah. So Merritt Island just had kind of a little arc there.
Fantastic.
But again, still
great,
higher than they were the year that we had the COVID waivers. Palm Bay, Rockledge. Rockledge was, almost at 93%, if we round that up, for the 24-25 school year. So again, moving in the right direction. Satellite, so again, even higher than what they had in 2021 with the waivers. They're at 98%. Space Coast, you can certainly see that trajectory there. They were probably one of our lowest, I guess, in 2021 with the waivers, right, at 84%, but sitting right now at a 97% graduation rate with the systems and work that they're doing at their school. Titusville High School, another one, is doing great work there. You can see the progress that they've made over the last several years with a 94.2 last year. Viera High School staying pretty consistent there with a 98.6, but still improving, right? I mean, it's hard to improve when you're that high at a traditional high school, but still making that progress. So we're very proud of them. And then West Shore is our other school that we want to show that has been consistent with the 100% over the years. So for our my last slide, our key graduation data point, 10 of our 17 schools hold a graduation rate of over 95%, as we've previously said. 15 of 17 schools increased or maintained their graduation rate from 23-24 to 24-25. And this one I definitely want to highlight. Our traditional BPS schools hold a graduation rate of 94.5%. So when we take out all of the other schools and we just add up our 17 schools that we've been talking about today, their graduation rate combined would be a 94.5 graduation rate. And then 17 of our schools have maintained or increased their graduation rate over the last 5 years. And that's all I have. Dr. Rendell?
Questions from the board?
I mean, I have a comment, but I am so proud of the secondary world and the work that they are doing. And I continually tell my principals in the North End, I'm like, you guys are killing it. You are rock stars. And so, for all the naysayers that publish things that are maybe not favorable, I'm like, this is the end-all, tell-all of, are we doing the good work that truly gets these kids across the graduation stage and set up for success in life? And there is no denying this. So thank you so much to the entire team. I know your team is walking those schools and tracking this data, and it matters. It is so significant. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wybelt. I always appreciate your work, and Mr. Raymer's team, everybody, that putting those systems in place are really important so that our schools can continue to be successful, and the turnover factor is important too. Just a question about the last slide. We talk about the BPS schools, or traditional BPS schools. That includes these 17, but the 92.7, does that, the extra, would that include, like, also Gardendale, also
Yes,
the
ma'am.
charter schools?
Charters, yes,
Also
ma'am.
whatever other alternate pathways
Yes.
we have? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Just say the charters are bringing us down.
Could be possibly.
Is that what you said?
So the other thing that I wanted to ask was, I think I remember this correctly, but when we talk about school grades, the school grade formula is lag data. So this is the data that will go into this year's school and district grades, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So we're looking really awesome before we ever go into
Yes.
May.
That is
So
the one cell they already have the data for. Yes, ma'am.
that's awesome. Well, I'm liking this cell. I'm
Yes.
liking this cell. So kudos all around at the district level and the school level for getting our kids to this level of success. And I look forward to those numbers continuing to rise.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so, great, this is good stuff, right? I mean, and this is where we can talk about this a little bit. It's hard to talk this down, but if you really peel back some of the onion here, it really is years in the making. I got to hand it to Dr. Rendell when he had the vision of, changing the structure at district, where we have Mr. Raymer in
Yes.
charge of the admin, and so he's focused.
Yes.
I was in his war room at Merritt Island High, so if you could just take that intensity and bring it throughout our district, we were going to be in great shape. You've heard me say this before, leadership matters.
Yes.
And here's where we can sit back and see the fruit of that. And then can't say that without giving props to Ms. Harris and her team, and Ms. Dampier and their team.
Yes.
So it is a huge team effort. And of course,
Absolutely.
we can trickle it all down to the schools and the teachers and all that. But this is where it makes us kind of proud, because we had some guy over here telling us what he's going to do and his vision, and we're seeing the results of that now. So it's good, and the future looks good too. As a former testing coordinator myself, of getting students across the stage and how
Yes.
difficult that is, we can sit back and props to all the testing coordinators out there, because it is a very, very tiresome job,
Yeah.
right? And people, I think, in the community don't even realize what they do, and they need the help of the entire school
Yes, sir.
to do that. So it's a good day to sit back and say, good job, but I can't add any more.
And I do believe, just I could add one thing, is that our systems are really part of that awareness, right? Including our testing coordinators. I think a big part of why we see that increase is that everyone involved now in grad rate understands what it takes to move that needle, right?
Yeah.
It used to be, well, the kid's gone, so we're just going to withdraw them with this easy withdrawal code, right? But not understanding how that affects our grad rate.
Right.
Right? So it was just making everyone that touches any of those pieces aware of how that affects us positively or negatively.
Right.
I think you mentioned something that is a very valid point. A student is in a cohort, the second they set foot in that grade, in ninth grade, they enter high school, that is part of the cohort.
ma'am.
So you must track it. So the illusion that, we're kicking a kid out, or we're just like, that one's a tough student, that's not what's happening here. This is us really standing alongside that student and getting them to the finish line.
Yes,
So that's
ma'am.
very significant.
You good?
Sorry, yeah, it made me think of the cohort conversation, because I know a lot of people will say, you're just, you're getting rid of the bad kids, so your graduation rate goes up. That's not true. That's flat out not true.
Some of it, right, and
mean-
and that's always confusing, because you have 5% or 7.3% dropping out, not necessarily, they're just not all crossing the finish line in that
Right
four-year
now.
period. So
Right.
that's really
Yes.
important to know, because some kids, it just,
It may take a
Takes
little
them an
longer,
extra
and that's okay,
semester.
too.
Yes.
That's right.
And I think, are you guys good?
Good?
I think for me, some of as we get closer to that 95%, it becomes difficult because there's outside external factors in a lot of these children's lives that we have to make up for. And it's difficult because some of these students may not have the same opportunities. but I wanted to thank Dr. Rendell and our staff because I know that we work very hard to fill those gaps with community groups, with other people. And I think when we talk about the graduation rate, it's not only just for our teachers in the classroom, which is a large part of it. It's not only the administrators in the building, but it's the bus drivers who drive the kids to the schools. It's the administration at the school district that's super focused on a strategic plan that actually has metrics. It's working with our community groups like Children's Hunger Project and others so that they can go ahead and support our kids. It's a holistic community involvement. And that, for me, is what really makes this graduation rate. Dr. Rendell has always said, this is the most important number and point of reference for a school district. And it is, because it doesn't just talk about the kids in the classrooms or teachers in the classrooms and other people. It talks about us as a whole. The policies that this board has passed in order to support those initiatives and everything else, and the staff that's there. I just wanted to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. I truly appreciate everything that you guys are doing. Being a teacher and a board member in this school district, I've seen it on all ends and everything else, and I know that we are humming in the right direction, and I wanted to say thank you. That's it. Dr. Rendell.
Thank you.
You know what, before
Oh,
Dr. Rendell,
listen.
I'm going to give him the stage, but when you said that, yeah, we're going to go, absolutely, you touched on it, but I want to thank, we can't educate any of our kids if they're not in our schools. So again, another shout out to Rashad Wilson out there to making sure our buses run as smoothly as they do and being fully staffed. And then, of course, we need IT. So, ET now, right? But again, it just goes back to the leadership in the team that we have, and we couldn't be prouder of them. And it's easy to represent a winning team. So we're not quite at our goals, which I'm sure Dr. Rendell is going to talk about, but we're headed in the right direction.
It is truly a team effort, and with Ms. Dampierre's attendance, right, their campaign that they're doing this year, that can only help
Yes.
with what we're doing too, because again, like you said, we can't educate them if they're not there. So
Right.
with the buses and then the attendance, it is really, truly a team effort.
Speaking of the attendance, Matt,
Yes.
you mentioned about the policies and the emphasis that this board, we're strong enough to be behind of getting kids in the classroom and the tardies and the phones. I mean, all this stuff
Yes,
is
sir.
going, when they, it's early, I guess I can talk for a
Go
second.
on
You
the
know,
soapbox,
you know,
man.
we're-
Listen, it's 11 o'clock. We're good to go. Have some fun.
Some of our teams have ended in the football season, and you look back at some and say, how did they turn that around so quickly? I am from Chicago, so I have a little bit of experience on this. And it's everything from the person who's, running the parking lot, of handing out the towels, to the communications. Everyone has a change of attitude, and you can change things quickly. You saw some of those numbers, I'm sure. Those are mind-boggling of turning around graduation rate, which is the ultimate, number that you want to look at. That's
Yes.
why students are in our schools and the parents feel comfortable putting them in Brevard Public Schools, and they should, with numbers that we have like this. So once again, thank you so much as a team. All right.
Thank you.
Rendell.
Hang on. Just because you did it, I want to run down and tell everybody that was, no, because if we're going to honor a couple, we got to honor all, right? So, Rashad, thank you. And the people that may not have been mentioned were the custodians and some of the other individuals. Food service, that's Kevin. I was getting there, Kevin.
Kevin, get him
Who
out.
else are we missing?
We went to
declined
do
it.
real chicken inside of our schools, right? Literally, like, put real chicken in front as opposed to some of the
Why is
reprocessed
that
stuff.
crazy? That seems like that's.
But the proteins and the opportunities that the students have as far as meals is incredible.
Oh, it's lunch, not like real chickens.
Right, like not real chickens.
Okay.
Lunch.
What-
But anyways,
Mr. Susan, that was before my time on the board, so what were we feeding them before? If it
so
was
it's a
fake chicken or
processed,
what?
warmed up, kind of like finger thing, and I remember it was a chicken finger that was reprocessed and stuff like that, so
Big
he
slime.
moved to do
Like a
that.
McDonald's?
Yeah, and it's in Kevin Thornton and some of his other things that he has with his, many people don't know the amount of, the level of work that they have done inside of those food bars and everything else. And then you have Russell Cheatham, I mean, how many Promethean boards do we have inside? How many, you know what I mean, one-to-one as far as laptops and stuff like that inside the classroom? And then you have Ms. Dampier back there who's redone the entire discipline process and then put people out of ESF and put them into the schools and had more hands-to-hands on everything else. Dr. Rendell, am I taking away your thunder here?
You're good.
But, and then you have Ryan Dufresne, who has a, incredible retention and recruitment right
Yeah.
now. And you go all the way down.
Awesome.
And you have
District
Officer
security.
Klein, who has all the security, that has us all making sure that we're safe on a regular basis. And we just start going all the way
Yeah.
down. So, thank you. I appreciate you. All right, Dr. Rendell.
There's really not too much else I can say. No, the numbers are great, and it's unfortunate some of our friends that were with us earlier today didn't stay to see the numbers. Hopefully, they'll watch the replay. We measure what we do, like, what gets measured gets done. And so having all these data points and tracking these students and making sure they're successful, it's a team effort. Everybody should celebrate these numbers and be encouraged that, we're moving in the right direction with such pace, too, moving at a quick pace. I do want to point out 15 of the 17 high schools improved their graduation rate from last year. The two that didn't were already performing at a very high level. With Satellite and Merritt Island, they both were at 98, 96, 97. So, all really good numbers and some big jumps for some schools in the last 2 years or so. And, we know how to do it, so we just have to do it each year and maybe, try to squeeze out a few more points here or there. But a great job by the team. We did a great job with the presentation, so thank you. And now we'll move to the next presentation. So we're going to have Mr. Pruitt, who also is in the school leadership department under Mr. Raymer, and he has the enviable task
Yeah.
of convening the calendar committee, which helps put together the instructional calendar each year. Instructional calendar is a team process. There's a lot of people involved. There are a lot of rules associated with the calendar, some from the state. For example, we cannot start school till August 10th. There are some other rules, some of them in contract with the teachers union and 1010. So there are all kinds of things that go into the making of the instructional calendar, and it's actually pretty difficult to do. And this calendar that Mr. Pruitt's going to present, I used to be in charge of this process in a previous role in a previous district, so I know how wonderful it is. And the calendar that he's presenting today, I think, is one of the best I've ever seen. So,
Hey, Dr. Rendell, before we leave the previous topic, sorry, I had to do a little research because before we get started getting emails and phone calls about something, just to clarify, we only have one charter school that goes all the way, well, actually, we have a few, but I just was looking at one. They're like at 98.9%. So I just want to make sure but when we talk about our overall cohort, we may have some schools like our alternative schools.
Correct.
And Devereaux and things that get counted in our overall graduation rate that don't have a specific school grade. So when we talk about that, I think that's where it may be lower than the 94. Am I
that's correct.
going in the right direction?
Yes,
Yep.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure before some of our charter schools start sending us nasty grams that,
Three charter schools that count. in
Three.
Okay, I wondered, I'm like, is
Right.
there only
Yeah.
one? I thought there
yeah.
was more, so.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Good morning.
Morning.
So I've got the pleasure of sharing the 2026-27 proposed calendar process with you, and then kind of go over the calendar that we put together. And like Dr. Rendell said, pretty excited about the calendar that we are proposing for the 26-27 school year. Some unique things that we've added in there for next year. Just kind of want to start just briefly, go through the process. We met with the calendar committee at the end of October. You can see here the list of the members who participated. Just about every department we have here for Brevard Public Schools and several school principals as well. And our partners with Brevard Federation of Teachers also participated in the calendar committee discussion. Just a few things, like Dr. Rendell alluded to a minute ago, there's a lot of parameters that we must follow in building the calendar. It's fun. There's a lot of things that we've got to make sure that we stick to, state statutes and state board rules. You hear a lot about minutes and hours. Just so you know, as we move forward with the calendar presentation today, the calendar that we're proposing for 26-27 meets all the minute requirements, all the hour requirements per the state. The first day of school cannot start earlier than August 10th. Not many people know that. We're lucky in the 26-27 school year that August 10th is a Monday. So we're able to look at starting school the first day that we're eligible to do that. Some considerations that we talked about during our committee meeting was professional development, professional learning days, teacher work days, hurricane makeup days. Fortunately, this year, knock on wood, we didn't have to deal with that. But that is also part of our calendar committee discussion and what we put into building the calendar for the next year. And then the last point on there, dates for graduation. Looking at opportunities to As you guys know, seniors graduate typically before the last school day of the year, so just ensuring that there's enough instructional minutes built in so that they can do that. Again, I mentioned minutes versus days. This is a conversation that we started with BFT last year. We were working through adding some of the things that we talked about that will be in this calendar for 26-27. Anytime we're able to get the minutes, we can add opportunities for teachers and students. As you can see here, the minimum is 4,050 minutes for the semester classes in high school and 8,100 minutes for the year-long classes in order to achieve credit for our high school classes. For the 26-27 current tentative calendar, you can see that we are well above the minimum requirements of the state, which kind of builds in a little bit of the instructional minutes, 3.46 additional days worth of instruction in the first semester, and 3.26 days of instruction second semester. And I'll get to that here in a few minutes when we start looking at the instructional time and makeup days if they're needed next year. So I'm going to pause right here. I'm going to pull up the proposed 26-27 calendar. And I apologize, it's a lot. There's a lot of little numbers in there. It's hard to see. But again, we start looking at the first semester, second semester breakdown of the proposed calendar for next year. We'll start at the beginning. Pre-planning this current school year and previous school years typically was 6 days of pre-planning. What we're looking at for next year is a 5-day pre-planning week. It starts, teachers will come back in August versus starting at the end of July for pre-planning. There's still going to be the professional learning opportunity built in during pre-planning. You'll see it on the calendar there. On August 5th, it'll be a 4-hour professional learning followed by teacher planning. It built into that week of pre-planning. So we still have the opportunity to do any new initiatives or adoptions or materials and things that teachers need in order to get started for the school year. So that opportunity will still be there. Like this year, our early release days will begin the second week of the school year, not the first Friday. So the second Friday of the school year will be our first early release, and those remain at 60 minutes like they are this year. The calendar as we have put together for next year, it is 90 days each semester, so it's kind of balanced. We've got a 180-day school year, finishing before Memorial Day again. If you'll notice the yellow here in September 25th, that is new. This is one of those exciting points that we were talking about a few minutes ago for next year's calendar, is an opportunity for professional learning around PM1 data. When PM1 data comes in the fall, we've got a day built in for planning around those numbers in preparation for pushing towards PM2 at the end of the semester. So we're really excited about that opportunity to be able to add that into the school calendar as a professional learning day for staff, and 4 hours of data review, looking at data and making plans moving into PM2, with the second half of that day being planning, teacher planning based on the professional learning that was done at each school. So again, that's new for the calendar for next year, but really excited about that. Still the same holidays that we have in there, the contracted work days in between first and second 9 weeks. Veterans Day, we have Labor Day up there in September, Thanksgiving break, still a full week, and then winter break. We come to winter break. You'll notice the darker color green box there at the end on January 4th. As we got together with our calendar committee, our friends in operations and food services brought up a great point as we were talking about the end date for winter break. Winter break is typically 10 days. It just so happened that 10th day for 26-27 would have been on New Year's Day, January 1st, holiday. So typically our operations folks and our food services, that's a great opportunity for them to restock and get ready for the kids coming back. But again, being a holiday, that would made it extremely difficult to do so. So in talking with our committee, we moved the end of winter break for teachers and students to January 4th. That'll allow our food services group to get the cafeteria up and running and be ready to go and welcome students back on January 5th. So that is a non-student teacher day. It is the 12-month employees, that is a work day for them. And that's something that, again, just based on where the calendar fell for the return of school coming back after the holiday, we needed to add that day in there. So that's why you'll see that, and as 11 days for the 26-27 school year. Moving right through the calendar, we still have our traditional holidays, our Martin Luther King holiday there in the middle of January. And then we have our Professional Learning Day in February that we have every year. That's going to be February 15th. That, like the day we added in September around PM1, the idea will be to build that day around PM2 with our final push into our spring testing in PM3. So preparation based around that PM2 data and schools being able to have time with their staff to put together plans moving forward and addressing any shortcomings they may need to do going into PM3. Spring break, you'll notice spring break a little bit further back in March. Also that the 26th of March is Good Friday, so it encompasses Good Friday. And spring break does match with Eastern Florida State College. So we'll be on break the same time they will be on break. And then just kind of moving through the rest of the school year, you'll see that we have our exam days at the end of May, and we wrap up with post-planning on Thursday, May 27th, so we'll be done before Memorial Day, with the entire school year. At the bottom of this, you'll see kind of a breakdown of semester for minutes. Again, that's something that always comes up, is how much time do we have in the event of hurricanes. We have the makeup day priority on the left side there. So in the event we are out due to hurricanes, this is how we would make those days up. There's enough instructional time built in to where we wouldn't have to ask for rearranging the schedule, getting together with different committees. We've got time built in, like I said earlier, just over 3 days in first semester. So if we are to miss a few days due to hurricanes, we've got the instructional time already built in. So there wouldn't be having any rearranging of the calendar or the schedule, so that we can continue moving forward. Where it gets a little bit tricky is if you look at days 4 and 5, we would have to look at going into the first and second days of second semester and making those first semester days. But again, nothing we would have to do to the schedule. We would not be losing any professional learning or work days or any opportunities like that for our staff and students. And then again, moving forward, if we were to go beyond 5 days, those would be discussions that we would have with BFT on borrowing from early release time to plug in to make up those days. This allows time for graduation in the end of the school year as well, gives schools the flexibility to do that. And then having the hurricane makeup priority posted as part of the calendar for our community to see so that they can plan accordingly. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. I'd be happy to take any questions if you have questions on the proposed 26-27 calendar.
You always go first. I don't know everyone.
Oh, I don't care. I'm ready to go first. Okay. First of all, thank you. I know this is an enormous task for the committee to coordinate all the requirements by the state and our union contracts and all of that to put all this together. And I know the public who complains about different things, which there's not a lot to complain about this calendar, they often don't understand all the intricacies that you guys have to work under. So thank you for doing that. I did notice this year, when we met last week, I didn't notice, looks like the second semester will start on January 11th, which is kind of late for us. Do we know how, and it's always workable with our dual enrollment students, but do we know when EFSC is starting their spring semester for next year?
So we actually had a meeting with EFSC to go over the calendar.
Okay.
And they don't start second semester till that day.
Till that
So
day.
it
Okay,
aligns
perfect.
perfectly with them.
Perfect. So that was my only question.
Yeah.
And I believe also, Dr. Rendell, are they also taking the same Thanksgiving break as us?
Yeah, so what's interesting is through that calendar conversation with them, they decided they would go ahead and take the full week of Thanksgiving off. So their employees, their professors and everything can thank us for the fact that they now have the full week of Thanksgiving off.
And then we
because-
don't have to worry about the transportation piece for the students who are taking the bus.
Correct, yep.
Okay,
So all of our holidays align perfectly.
Yay, seems like we should have done that before. Thanks for doing that.
You want me to go next? Okay.
Sure.
Okay, thank you for all the hard work that you put into this. So, board, you know what I'm going to say on this one, so I'm going to go ahead and plug it right now, modified calendar, but that's okay. I'll get back to that. So this has been something I've been talking about for years. I feel like I am beating my head against the wall. One of the things I noticed on this is that the calendar committee, the composition of that, I don't see parents included on that. I think it'd be very beneficial for us to maybe look at some of our parents that come to like our PI meetings or something like that, that could, not PI, I'm using the wrong acronym.
PLT.
PLT, thank you. I'm like, wrong acronym. The parent leadership team, maybe recruiting a couple of them to play a role in there, because then they could convey back to even school sites or the community, like what's going on with the creation of it, because like Ms. Campbell had mentioned, not everyone understands the intricacies of making this calendar. The other thing I would like to see, and I told you this before, and I know this goes back to the minutes versus days and all the fun stuff there. I would love us to be able to get to a place where we could end the first semester by the time Christmas break starts. I realize the nuance with that because we're building in hurricane days, which typically happen the first semester, not the second semester, obviously, for obvious reasons. I would love to see that happen. The only way that I could ever see that happening, and I don't even want to say it because I know what that's going to end up being, is
Get rid of that Thanksgiving holiday.
no, not the Thanksgiving holiday. That's not at all what I was thinking. So, no, the early release days to trade minutes for days. And that way could possibly be something in the future that we look at if we talk with our friends at BFT on, hey, we understand you like these minutes on these days, but would a teacher prefer to have a day instead of a few minutes? I would. That's what I'd like to see. And then one other, this is just a personal preference, I would love to see our district take an initiative to make Election Day a district holiday for our staff and students. That way our students can participate in that as well as our staff. And then I think I have the only school that's a polling location at this point, but that might be a way to help our supervisor of elections too when he runs into some issues with trying to find places.
Yeah, that's correct. Space Coast Junior Senior is a polling location, but is the only one.
It is the only one left. So just something I would love to see happen in the future if the board so desired to move that way. So thank you for your hard work on this. I know it's a
Yes, ma'am.
ton of moving parts, and you did a phenomenal job.
Thank you.
Yeah, same. We know the work that goes behind in all this, so, and it's a good call, Ms. Wright, on the, including the parents on that. But you also took my thunder on if we could, possibly put together a what-if calendar of what things that we could do if we maybe didn't have the early release minutes there, and explore, what a day in Brevard schools could look like if you had, access to all those minutes and could do some things. And I think that would be a good discussion,
Okay.
so, and we had talked about that on the one-on-ones, so you
Yes,
know
sir.
where I'm headed on.
Yeah, I think that would be a good thing to look at the 27, 28, say what would it look like if we had that change?
Right, right. Because as a teacher, as a former teacher myself, we know the importance of having those educational minutes, and being able to use, and then, when we don't use our hurricane days, what it could look like. And so, I look forward to seeing
Okay,
those.
yeah, I'll put it together.
All right, appreciate it.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you for all the hard work.
Yeah, appreciate you. Thank you for taking the time to meet with us prior to this and going over this. This is a really good calendar. I really appreciate it. And I echo your sentiments in the fact that those early release days, I think we can creatively put something together that works both for our labor groups and for us,
Yeah.
for student achievement. It does reduce the day of those Fridays is difficult to get true achievement out of a shortened day because of the way that it runs. And we've had great success with teachers trying to do it, but I think if we offered them an opportunity to maybe some other options, increasing, there's a lot of options there that we can do. So thank you for doing that. I did want to kind of mention, this year, the graduation days are all on the same day. And for years, we always made it a point to make sure that all the graduations were not on the same day so that we could have families attend different ones. So next year, not this year, next year when we come back, if part of that can be that we put those graduation days on separate. I know that's not your area, but I did just want to say it out publicly. I don't know where the rest of the board feels on that, but I feel we did that years ago with the other board, is that we made it an initiative, and I think it just kind of fell by the wayside. But being able to go to multiple events
Right.
locally, we always just said, look, like if it's Satellite versus like Titusville, yeah, those can be on the same day, but when you have like O'Galley and Satellite and Viera, it's difficult because there are a lot of families that are in those areas. So that's all. So just something that
It's hard
creatively do.
because you do have, I remember
Yeah.
one year that I had a set of grandparents reach out to me, but it wasn't two schools within District 5, it was a school here. So you're never going to be able to eliminate
All of it,
that.
but at the
Right.
same time, we can try to do sit next to each other, because that, I did get a lot when we did this year, and we're going to get a lot of emails as we get closer. So just something to think about. And then I agree, letting all the parents come in and have conversations about this, solidifies and makes it stronger. So thank you so much for bringing that up, and that's it.
I have
Mr.
one more
Trent.
thing, too.
I did too. Well, just the importance, when something's important to you, you'll make time for it. And that day that, the teachers can come together and talk about the PM2 data, again, as a former teacher, that is so important. I've done that in other districts when we went over like semester exam data, things like that. That's extremely important. We tell the teachers, hey, this is why the PM, 1, 2, and 3 are there, so you can gather the data, adjust instruction, and go at it. But now we're giving them time to do that. And again, that's just us thinking and forward thinking of the teachers and the ones that are out there. So giving them that time, they appreciate that. So from them to you, to me, to you, thank you again for thinking about everyone involved.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that'd be a very beneficial day.
Yes,
I really do.
absolutely.
My other thing I wanted to mention, and I mentioned this when we did our one-on-one, is the academically high-performing school districts. Our district now meets that criteria. It looks like from the DOE's website, the application period typically happens in the summertime, like June. So if you go on, I would love for our district to be listed on this top 10 because we meet the criteria. And so there's no reason we shouldn't be there with these other districts that are performing as high as we are. So I would just ask that from your office, maybe there, I'm not sure which department. Dr. Rendell, if that's something that you would need to lead
Yeah,
out on.
Mr. Raymer and I have talked about that.
Okay.
It would come out of my office.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I would love to see us to be on that list. So thank you.
Dr. Rendell?
I don't have any other comments about the calendar presentation. Again, I think it's one of the best ones I've seen in a long time. You may recall 2 years ago, we did survey the community, the parents primarily, and they wanted the full week of Thanksgiving
Oh, yeah.
off, and they wanted to finish before Memorial Day. Sometimes you can't have both things, but in this calendar you can. Moving spring break back 1 week allowed it to line up with Easter. So for those people who celebrate Easter, the Friday in school, in spring break is Good Friday, so it ends with Easter weekend, so
Yeah.
it works out pretty well. And just really a balanced calendar, number of days. One of the things that Mr. Pruitt mentioned, and you guys all understand, but maybe the public don't really understand, is it's all about minutes, not days. And we have a lot of instructional minutes built in. Thank you to the Brevard Federation of Teachers for reducing the release time on early release Fridays this year and next year. So that allows us additional instructional minutes. So over 3 days of hurricane makeup each semester already built in. So if we unfortunately have to close for hurricanes, we really shouldn't have to adjust the calendar. So really, really good balanced calendar, pretty excited about it.
Beautiful.
And we're approving this at our next meeting, correct?
I believe so. It's
Yeah.
going for
February
the agenda, yes,
24th?
ma'am.
Yes,
Okay,
they-
so for the people who are waiting for that, just know it'll be official on
24th.
February
Yes.
24th.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you.
All right.
Everybody good?
Good.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Right, Dr. Rendell, before we move on to policies, do you have anything else?
No, I don't.
Okay, so next thing that we wanted to talk about is we have a series of policies that are on here. I don't know if anybody has any of them that they specifically want to speak to. We can go and just say, does anybody have any questions, or I can run through them one at a time. I did want to ask, one of the things we put forward a couple of years ago is, instead of just having it highlighted, whatever the additional language is, if we could underline it like they do at the state legislature. And then if you notice, we went to a green highlighting. But sometimes people don't have color inside their printers and stuff like that, and there's just a little bit different. So if you have the strike-through, which they have, which is great, but if you guys are okay with going back to the way we just underline the additions, that would be great too. You know what I mean? Because right now, if you look at it, the pink is the one that says that they're, removing, but at the same time, that removal is great. If the color changes, that's a removal, but if the color changes and you see this, you know what I mean, you might not know. So underlining it helps, that's all. If you guys are okay with that. Are you okay with that, Ms. Campbell?
Oh, it's highlighted, so even if you just had a gray print, it's going to be highlighted. You're talking about underlining all the additions?
Yeah, we had it before, we just kind of, I don't know where it went.
I don't remember ever doing it a different way than this, so whatever, as long as people can see, and including us, this is what we added, this is what we took away, I'm fine with it.
So, are all good with it?
Yep.
Yeah, I don't have any objections.
Okay,
That's
all
fine.
right. I can go through real quick. We have policy dealing with employment of staff. Does anybody, 3120, do you guys, any discussions on that piece? No? Okay.
Just to clarify for the audience that's viewing, this is to adopt a change in policy that allows us to value work experience in lieu of a degree.
Yep.
So for certain positions, our job descriptions have required a college degree, and we've learned that in some cases, work experience in that field is just as valuable, if not more valuable than a degree. So that's what this language allows us to do.
It's a good thing.
Yep.
Yep. It also cleans up the lettering there. And the next one is policy 6210.001, allocation and use of ad valorem millage. Anybody have any questions on that? No?
So just for clarification,
Yeah.
this is changing a little bit of language to say, not necessarily what specific measurables, it would be just have to have specific measurables, because we want to measure, if we're spending money, especially, additional tax revenue money, we want to make sure that we're measuring the effect of that. So rather than trying to list what every possible measurement, it has to have measurable outcomes. For example, it might be enrollment in advanced placement courses, and, but we hadn't called that one out, so it's like, rather than call them out specifically, appropriate measurable outcomes.
Okay. That makes sense, because when it says proposals for program funding require these, some of them, like we have used this for the Summer Fine Arts Theater Workshop. I mean, the measurable is, did we have a performance? It's not necessarily,
Right.
we're not always necessarily going to have the same exact number of students per year, and it's not a failure because last year we had 100 and this year we only have 90. It's just so some of them will require different kinds of goals, I guess, is what this is, added flexibility. Is that?
Yeah, because
correct?
we had called out two specific ones, graduation rate, proficiency gains. It did say example given, but, this just gives a little more flexibility to measure the effect of whatever it is we're funding.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Would it jeopardize any of the programs that we have in existence right now?
No.
Okay.
No.
All right, everybody good?
Good.
All right, moving on. Next one is policy 8407, safe school officers. Dr. Rendell, you want to give us an overview on that one, too?
And this one's just more in response to an audit findings, so we're bringing it in line with our practice and what we're required to do by statute.
Yep. Seems that way when you read it. Okay, anybody got anything on that? No? Does anybody have further discussions they want to talk to at the end of the meeting? Anything going on? All right, if not, I'm going to adjourn the meeting. Everybody good? Yep. All right, the meeting's adjourned.